Buenos dias, this is Cornelio Candelaria Organics. I'm 7th generation Atrisco farmer, and the water that we use from our beautiful Rio Grande has been a lifeline for thousands and thousands of years. These lands became cobbles that were mixed with the sand from erosion off of the hill and the sediment of the river to create very, very fertile lands. And these people that lived up there 1,000 years prior to the Spanish farmed this land to produce our three sisters, the corn, the squash, and the bean, and the tobacco, which is very important. Mother Earth has been providing sustenance for humankind for that length of time makes this soil sacred. I wasn't born on this farm. I was born on my grandmother's ranch. The only amenities that my grandmother had on that farm were her horno de adobe and the windmill for water. Later on in life, I had an opportunity to speak with her. And she told me the love, the honor, the respect, and the duty that you have to your mother is the same as you should have for your Mother Earth, because it was from both wombs that I drew you into the light. And so what I do here is the transmission of that philosophy, that idea that what we stand on is sacred, and that without it, we don't survive. And if you begin to think in those terms, the cleanliness of our water, the maintenance of our bosques, the general upkeep of the watershed will improve with consciousness. The main diversion on the Rio Grande is about 1/8 of a mile up, so we're right next to the river. And I think there are 4 major arteries. This is the westernmost one. This is the Arenal Acequia. When I was growing up, all of this infrastructure here that you see was all earthen dam. And we had to pull up the beams to raise the water and lower the water. So it was very manual, very hard work. You know, it was tough labor. Now we have solar panels that open and close the gates, and all we got to do is push a button. It's not that easy, but these ditches, what they do is they deliver water to our fields, you know, and it's a system that works totally on gravity. It has no pumps. And that technology was brought here by the Spanish via the Moors. And 500 years ago, the Spanish brought it here. And it's still in use today in basically the same form.
I started a nonprofit called Think Like a Bee in 2015.
Have you ever eaten these? Taste
What
it.
is it?
Taste it.
And I did that as a beekeeper because I felt that we needed to have more advocacy and more education around pollinators and bees in this part of the world, in the Southwest. 1 year after all of our bees had crashed, we were really disheartened. And that spring, Lorenzo noticed that there were bees coming in out of one of those old broken down hives. They had cleaned it up and moved in, and for us that was a sign that the bees will continue here.
Whoa. This is one of the most essential creatures that we have in our agriculture.
So you want that pattern of honey, pollen, and brood. They don't have a queen and her pheromones to kind of mellow out the hive.
And you can see what happens when monocropping takes place, where pesticides and chemical fertilizers are used, that the bee populations just don't make it. Wow, look at this.
So we douse our food systems and our environment with chemicals that bees are as sensitive to as we are. It's in the water, the air, the soil. We're finding climate change is a huge predictor of colony collapse. Loss of habitat, that's also a huge indicator of bee colony collapse. They're getting slightly
Aggravated.
aggravated, yeah. Well, you can see the luminous quality of this honey. Just glorious.
They're amazing creatures. Their method of communication is much, much more efficient than ours. Their vocabulary it consists of one word, and that's survival.
And so what do they need for survival?
Water. Water. Their survival and our survival all depend on the water.
The Rio Grande watershed is very rich in terms of habitat for all pollinators and all creatures and all farmers who live along the Rio Grande and use this watershed.
In the near future, I see problems in the fact that there are developments going up, way up in the desert where they want to pump water from the Rio Grande Basin, from the watershed. And there's no water here. This is the desert after all. So in order to supply a community of, I think they said 38,000 habitations, where are they going to get the water after having farmed with this ditch for 300 years? And we're going to end up with no food. And the loss of our culture and our language and our traditions that are established and surrounded around this system of water. Our water is very sacred to us. So it's frightening to think of what could happen if that whole development takes effect. I mean, you see people throwing trash in the ditches because it's just water that's running. Look, the trash is gone. But it's still in the water. And this is water we eat from and we drink from. So what the population at large can contribute is awareness that water is not just something that we just quench our thirst with. It is life. La vida es agua y la agua es la vida.